This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. We could all quiet down, have our seats. Quiet down or I'm going to call a cop. Madam Clerk.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of the February 26, 2019 work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was provided as required by law.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Councilman Gualtieri. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Could all remain standing for the invocation.
As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community. Keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois.
Here.
Councilman Gualtieri.
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Councilman Onijaka. Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Councilman Onijaka is on his way from work. The first item on the agenda is commendations, proclamations, and we'll have a swearing in of the new sergeants. For those of you who heard me say, quiet down or I'll call a cop, it's because there's at least 50 of them in the room. Okay, if we could come forward.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. My name is Rich Grammer. I'm the Chief of Police, Franklin Township Police Department. Of all the duties that I have, there are two that I think are the most important. Number one is recruiting new officers so that they can fill our ranks and become part of our family and be a part of our unique police department. And the second is from the ranks of our officers to pick the leaders of the future that will be here long after I'm gone. Tonight, we are going to promote three very special men, and they will be the leaders of tomorrow. So without any further ado, although I do need to recognize a few people in the audience tonight with us. First and foremost, Larry Roberts, our former Chief of Police, my good friend that I miss every day. Mike Robertson, our Somerset County prosecutor. Unique in this world, I have two bosses. I answer to Bobby for all things administrative and things here to do with the town, and I answer to Mike when it comes to all things law enforcement related and everything that we do during our jobs. So who else do we have here? Let me look around the room. We have so many officers from so many different departments. I need to recognize that we have officers from South Brunswick, New Brunswick. I saw Manville over here, Bridgewater. We are a unique family of law enforcement. I know that former police director Mike Beltranina is here somewhere from New Brunswick. There he is. Looking around, who else? I know our state PBA president Pat Colligan is here somewhere. Pat, where are you? Oh, Pat's over there. And if I missed anybody else, I'm sorry. I'm looking around. There are so many people here tonight that thank you all for coming, really. So we're going to start in order, and we'll start with Kenny Daly. Kenny is a 15-year veteran of the police department, of the patrol division and the investigative division. Most recently as a major crimes detective. He is also will be relinquishing his job as our delegate and turning that over to Mark Keller. and has served our PBA faithfully and served our town faithfully, and he now will be joining the ranks of the supervisors, and he has a very bright future. So.
I, Ken Daly,
I, Kenneth Daly,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true
faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
Sergeant of the Town
Sergeant of the Township of the Franklin Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks. As I see people, I'm also going to recognize them. I've got Frank Roman, Deputy Chief from the Prosecutor's Office back there. So everybody say hi to Frank. So, okay. Secondly, we have Sergeant Ariel Almora. Ariel comes to us from the Somerset County Sheriff's Department, where he spent a year or two, and he's been a member of our department now for 12 years. Prior to that, he served in the United States Marine Corps with tours in both Afghanistan and Iraq. He holds a bachelor's degree from Seton Hall University and is one of our best and brightest. So congratulations, Ariel.
I, Ariel Elmore,
And certainly last but not least, Sergeant Kevin Fitzharris. Kevin is a 22-year veteran of the police department.
Congratulations.
He holds a bachelor's degree from Kane University, and most important in his service, although his service record is lengthy, most important is that Kevin started and runs our youth police academy every summer, which has become the model around the state, and has won awards. And every year we have, by the beginning of summer, we have a wait list, and kids come back and want to do it again and again and again. And we're real proud of Kevin for that. And now he's going to continue his career as a sergeant for the police department, and we're real proud of him.
I, Kevin Fitzharris,
I, Kevin Fitzharris,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the
Constitution
of the United States
and
and the Constitution
Constitution
of the State of
State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true
faith and allegiance
to the same
same
and to the governments established
governments established
in the United States
United States,
and in this state
this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that
that
I will
I will faithfully,
impartially,
partially,
justly perform
justly
all
perform
the duties of
all the duties of
Sergeant
Sergeant
of the Franklin Township Police Department
of the Franklin Township Police Department
according to the best of my
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
In closing, I just want to thank the mayor and the council who give us the tools to have the best police department in the state. And I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And we're just so proud of these 3 young men that will be leading our department for years in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. We've often stayed up here how proud we are of our police force, how professional they are. You can't see, we normally don't pan the audience, but perhaps we could make a exception if the cameraman can pan the audience. You'll see many, many police officers. What you won't notice by looking, there's many retired police officers here. That's how tight this family is. This man does an excellent job running the force, but a lot of these guys were brought up under Chief Larry Roberts. Chief, would you like to come up and say a word?
No, you did put me on the spot. Now, I'd just like to say it's nice to come back, to see everybody do well and, everybody move up through the ranks and professionalize their careers. And I'm proud of the 3 individuals that got promoted. They all work very hard, as does everybody in that force. And I know that all 3 of them will do well. And congratulations to the chief because he's doing a great job.
You never know when you might have to be in front of the prosecutor, so I thought it might be nice to him. Sir, would you like to say a word? That would be great. And afterwards, we have about 20 questions for you.
No questions. So to kind of echo what Chief Grammer said, one of the cool things that I get to do as the prosecutor is to come to events like this, and I try to make every single one. And I also try to make the retirement ones as well. But these events are particularly special, not only for the officers, but for their families and their kids. Many of you guys know I have family, my brother, cousins, father, uncles, all in law enforcement. So for me, this is personal. It's not just a job. I care about all of you guys on a personal level, your safety. And like I said, this, though, is a fun moment. It's an enjoyable moment. So, go out and celebrate. Be safe, but go out and celebrate, have fun. And again, congratulations.
Thank you. And lastly, the other dignitary we have here is the president of the state PBA. Many people, if you want to come up, many people don't realize it, but he is actually one of our officers, and it's quite a feather in our cap, and it's quite useful sometimes to have the president of the state PBA be a Franklin Township officer, and I get to say I'm his boss.
Thank you. And like Larry, I wasn't expecting to talk. But yes, he is my boss. He reminds me every time I see him. It really is it's a great police department. It's noted around the state, not just because I came from here, but I get kudos wherever I appear. And a lot of our guys are teaching in advanced schools and college. And at some point, wherever I go, somebody says, "Oh, Franklin, so and so is my instructor. I go to school with so and so," and it's nice. It's a great department. I'm proud to call it home since 1992. I'll be here for a few more years. I just got reelected, so you're my boss for a few more years. So thanks, and thanks, Chief, for promoting 3 good guys.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you all again. Thank you, all the officers that are here. You keep us safe, and I rest easy because I know you're going to do a good professional job. Thank you. The next item is the proclamation for Black History Month. If you guys are going to leave, could you leave now rather than in the middle of it? We'll resume in about 1 minute here.
On the way down. So there is an email in your inbox from Mark about the Frank's. Right.
those of you who stayed. So this is actually my first proclamation as a councilwoman, so it's kind of exciting. And I'm also really honored to be able to do this proclamation for Black History Month, because I'm Black. Whereas Black History Month is an occasion to rediscover the enduring stories of African Americans and the gifts of freedom, purpose, and opportunity they have bestowed on future generations, and whereas it is also a time to commemorate the countless contributions of African Americans, many of whom lived through and surmounted the scourge of segregation, racial prejudice, and discrimination to enrich every fiber of American life. Their examples of heroism, patriotism, and enterprise have given people of all backgrounds confidence, courage, and faith to pursue their own dreams. And whereas the many local organizations and many individuals throughout our township are dedicated to the principle of fostering civic, economic, and educational programs throughout the Township of Franklin, and are dedicated to encouraging reflection on the rich history and teachings of African Americans and bearing witness to the progress, beauty, and achievements they have made throughout our community. And whereas Black History Month is a call to each and every citizen of our community to reflect on the cultural, scientific, political, and economic contributions of African Americans, which are woven through American society, and we remember, learn from, and build on the past so that together we can build a better and more prosperous future for all Americans. Now, therefore, we, Philip Kramer, Mayor, and Crystal Pruitt, Councilwoman of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, New Jersey, on behalf of the Franklin Township Council, do hereby proclaim the month of February to be Black History Month in the Township of Franklin, and urge all citizens to join in celebrating the diversity and character of our community and highlight the importance of sharing our culture, custom, and tradition with those around us. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public session. Do I have a motion to open to public session?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are now open for public discussion. Anyone wishing to speak, please come up. You are limited to 5 minutes. You must address the audience. You have to, you must address the council. You cannot address the audience. Please state your name and address, no yielding of time. I think I've covered most of the issues. Anyone wishing to speak, please come up. And you'll have to turn the mic around because I forgot to.
There we go. Karen White, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, is there any way, videographer, to turn up the mic volume? It doesn't seem to be. That's not where it is. Okay. Can we turn it up because it doesn't?
I can try. I mean, it's preset.
Should I just speak louder?
We could try that. You could turn up your volume.
Okay. Karen White, 106 Pear Tree Lane in Franklin Park. And I'm glad you're all sitting down, so you're not too shocked when I tell you I'm not up here to complain about Mr. Prasad. I was actually reading an article in the Franklin Reporter and Advocate that was discussing Mr. Prasad had been questioning judicial salaries. And the article cited salaries for various judicial officials, and it cited the salaries for 2 municipal judges here in town. A male judge who's making over $900 per session, and a female judge who's making only $700 and change per session. I would like to know why there is such a huge disparity in income salary between the male and the female. Then I come here tonight, and I see that there's a ceremony for police officers, and as you requested, I scanned the room. I didn't see any female police officers. Does Franklin have women
So
on their police
we have
force?
more
Mr.
female
Mr.
officers.
Manager, wait
She
till she
she
quote-
directed a question to me.
Do you want him to answer? Do you want?
Well, may I finish my question?
Sure.
Thank you. Does Franklin have female officers, and if so, how many? Because I did not see any here tonight.
Well, actually, there were. Dawn Flanders was seated in the back. Actually, percentage-wise, we have more female police officers than any other police department in the state of New Jersey. Currently, more than 10% of the police department is female. That's number one. Your other question was the salary for judges. Judge Rodriguez is the presiding judge, and Judge Vela is the associate judge. So therefore, one makes more than the other. And
Okay, that was not made clear in the
well,
article.
I didn't write the article.
I'm not saying you did. I very clearly said I saw it in the Franklin Reporter and Advocate. So I was just questioning the disparity in income between a man and a woman in the town. Thank you.
They're not equal.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Skip Schaefer, 2 Lair Terrace, Somerset. Tonight I want to address the concept of integrity with you, certainly not out of any sense of self-righteousness, but because most of you still don't seem to care how your virtual silence regarding Mr. Prasad's unethical actions over the last going on 4 years now have negatively affected your personal integrity as you serve on this council. I'm going to read to you excerpts from a 4-year-old article that talks about the importance of having a good name and maintaining a good name. And although this article starts out with a Bible verse, it was written by a layperson, a teacher of government and sociologist in a high school. Proverbs 22:1, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold. What's the status of your name? Would you say it is good? Do you even care how those around you view your name? I'm not talking about your actual name. You all have common names. They're very prevalent across the country. I'm talking about what your name implies. When people hear it, what do they think of you? A good name really speaks to your integrity. Therefore, it's about your reputation and the character you have inside. It identifies who you are from a moral and ethical standpoint. Essentially, it is what you're all about. The Bible verse says, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. That's amazing. Your good name is better than all the money in the world. That's what people think when your name is mentioned. A good name provides stability. When you have a good name, people can trust you. That trust is a stabilizing factor in your relationship with them. They know what to expect from you and can lean on your decisions with absolute surety, knowing they were made with pure motives. Those whose good name has been tarnished have a difficult time building trust and consequently maintaining friendship. Their motives will always be questioned as insincere. They are more or less seen as looking out for themselves, my own words, or their party, and taking little consideration for the needs of others. A good name is eternal. Riches are fleeting. They could be with us 1 minute and gone the next. And of course, we know that we can't take riches with us once we leave this world at the time of our death. A good name, however, is theoretically eternal. How many men and women of history are still being spoken of in a positive light? Wouldn't it be special if that could be you? How will your legacy be remembered and portrayed by family, friends, or colleagues once you are gone, or while you continue on council, or once you leave council? Will they focus on the value of your good name, or only remember that you cared about money, or your party, or votes? My words. One of those will provide fonder memories and produce more positive future dialogue than the other. A good name brings loving favor. The ending phrase of the Bible verse says, loving favor rather than silver and gold. As we are to seek a good name instead of riches, so we are also to seek loving favor over riches. And I can think of no better way to garner loving favor than to have a good name. People will love you for having integrity. They appreciate you for the kindness, mercy, and attention to their needs that you show. They will stay by your side when you are attacked. In conclusion, riches are not evil, and there's nothing wrong with having them. But a good name is better than riches, better than all the riches of the world. It provides more value in the present and the future. Do you need to start working on yours or repairing yours today? I certainly hope that Rajiv Prasad is not more important to you than tarnishing your good names. I certainly hope that Peg Schaefer, your so-called leader, is not more important to you than tarnishing your good names. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Benjamin Guy, 35 Patton Drive. Just want to tell the community about two things that were coming up in March. One is March 11th, Hamilton Street is hosting a open forum for all the community that actually have conversations about what is going on in Hamilton Street. That'll be hosted at the Municipal Complex. That's open to everybody that is here to actually talk about what has been talked about in social media, but actually get direct answers to actually answer any questions that are going on or any ambiguity about what is actually going on in Hamilton Street. You can actually talk to the board president. You can talk to, I guess, some of the resident business owners. And you can actually talk to some of the residents that are actually there. So to be open to everybody that's on March 11th at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex at all. Another thing to target is actually for everybody that actually has social media questions about the youth center. I think March 20th is the other date that will actually be out there. That'll actually be hosted, I think, again, here at the Municipal.
Actually, I'll report in my
Okay.
report on that.
So I just wanted to reiterate those dates to everybody that is actually there to get off the conversation about some things as far as that are going on socially wise, to talk about positive directions about things that are going on in a community at all. The other thing is just to talk about directly things that are going on in the community. If there is, and I'm going to put this out there, if we can't get to somewhat of a resolution, I ask that we have another community meeting. I don't have a problem sponsoring the community meeting on behalf of stuff that is going on in the community, if it needs to be coordinated, because again, I don't have a problem laying the bearing of dealing with issues, because sometimes issues got to be addressed directly, and I don't think we're addressing some of the issues that are here. So if there's not a resolution, I would get together, and I'll even put this out to Bill Bowman and actually tapped into to actually sponsor a community meeting to actually say, let's deal with some of the issues that we're actually targeting right now that's going on in election season, and actually talk about it together in unity, as we talked about with the police department before we had the school shootings last year, to actually get together and actually host these community meetings so that we can get this out in the open and actually talk about what is really going on behind the scenes at all. So those are things that I would look to do. I would challenge to actually have that go on in April during the time frame, so that we can actually get to the bottom of a lot of stuff that is there. So if they need help or assistance, I have no problem putting support behind that to actually get this done. So that is the only thing I would like to address, and I put that out there publicly to anybody else that would like to do the same. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Yes, Lori Smith, 14 Azalea Lane. I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to get up or not even quite sure what I want to say, but I've been following this whole thing about Councilman Prasad online, and I just want to point out that just because there aren't 100 people sitting in this room doesn't mean we don't agree with what's been going on. I find it very disturbing that our town council is not addressing this in a final way. You guys are held to a higher standard. You're in public office. Personally, I've been attacked by somebody in a political position, and it's irrelevant at this point, but I value my reputation. And it's very hurtful when it's not addressed properly. I'm a mom, I've got 3 kids, I've got a husband, I'm an only child, I have aging parents. I have a lot on my plate. Some of us are given the job of being a caretaker to many people. I have 3 different schools I go to every day. I'm tired. I cannot continue to come here over and over again. This will probably be my only time coming here because my time is very valuable to me. And I was very active in the PTO and at the Board of Ed meetings over and over again, and felt that my words fell on deaf ears. I really hope that this town council comes to a final resolution very soon, because it's very disturbing to me as a citizen and a mother who has children that this is still continuing to go on. You know, you're supposed to have a higher standard than average people. I don't ask people to be perfect, but it needs to be dealt with once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, Christina Zambri, 3 Buffa Drive. Yeah, it's me again. In light of what supposedly happened today at the ShopRite, where allegedly an 81-year-old man was attacked for wearing a Make America Great Again hat, and sustained some minor injuries. I guess the details are now still coming out, which is why I'm saying alleged. That's the kind of thing that I was hoping would never happen in our town, regardless of what anyone's political beliefs are. And one of the reasons that so many of us are upset over comments that have been made during the Human Relations Committee meeting, comments made by Councilman Prasad in the past, is because that just further fuels the divide among everyone. And I like I said, I had hoped that the residents of this township were better, but when you have things that go said and people being called hate groups and racist, and those are very dangerous things to call people, especially when you don't know someone. And I do applaud Mayor Kramer for speaking out against what did happen in the Human Relations Committee meeting with that kind of language. So I do applaud him for speaking up about that. But when you allow, by your silence, to have one of your council members use terms like racist and hate group and Nazis and calling the FBI on residents, who the residents were then forced to have their online profiles scrubbed so that anybody who Googled them wouldn't think that they were part of some kind of hate group. But when you allow that kind of discourse to continue without any real reprimand or unified call for his resignation, this is the kind of thing that continues then to harbor ill will amongst township residents. And that is another reason why we continue to push forward with this. And once again, ask that the Township Council please ask Mr. Prasad, Councilman Prasad, to resign or not run again. So, and we will continue, as the woman pointed out before, we may not be here in large numbers, but there are a lot of us, and people are following our page, and we're going to continue to push forward until something is done about this. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Desai.
I'm Chandrakant Desai. I'm the resident of 1 Lindsay Court, Franklin Park, 08823. I thought I will have a peaceful sitting over there, but looks like that, you see, the situation is compelling me to speak. First thing, let me tell you, that are the posters allowed in this way? These are the things to be done in the streets, on the roads, or even in the council, but the presidents are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and honorable councilmen are there, and such an important council. And just the streets, it's like a street over here. Second thing, let me tell that, you see, these people don't know the English. RAJIV should be the spelling. It's compared, they have misspelled it. Ryan Prasad. No, Rajiv Prasad, it should be there. Don't know the English properly.
Please
I don't know
address
if
the
they go to
count,
school again.
Mr. Desai, please address the council.
Now, are the posters justified? I will need the reply for that one, of this council. Second thing, that this looks like a council is very cheap. It's just like a market. Now, Mr. Rajiv Prasad already replied in one of the councils that he is not going to resign. He has been already elected by the people and they want him to represent. At that time, I think they need the hearing aid. Have they not heard his words? I need the hearing aid, but nobody, you see, you also need the hearing
Mr.
aid.
Desai, please address council.
They already answered. And they want him to be repeatedly answering the same thing?
Mr. Desai, please, Mr.
Second
Desai,
thing,
you
let me
have
tell
to
you.
address council. You can't address them. You have to talk to us, not to the,
Yeah.
not to.
Second thing. Second thing. I am a Hindu. I respect Lord Krishna and equally I respect Lord Jesus. And Lord Jesus told that if you want to throw the stone on a prostitute because she is a sinful lady, you should better examine yourself before you throw the stone. Are you really competent?
Mr.
I don't think so. When Jesus says everybody throw away the stones, Jesus should not be only in the he should not be only in the Bible. He should be in the council also. But it looks like that Jesus is absent in council, and it is only in the Bible. Second thing, that there was a recall signatures were there. They already failed. They have not even they have not bought also the required signatures. It's a failure. When it is already failed, you don't have the right to say anything like that. And is it allowed as a law that one can make just like a recall signature table being given? It means that the council is allowing them to do it. Council is in favor of that one. It reflects like that, which should not happen. A table should have been outside the building, not inside. I saw it that one. That is also something very ridiculous. Whether it's legal or not, that should be examined. Second thing, that I have seen in this council, the decency and respect, no matter whether we agree or not. I may not agree with him, I may not agree with you. It's all possible. Does not mean that disagreement means disrespect, dishonor. Disagreements can be there even with our Honorable Trump, President Trump also. That does not mean I have to salute him. He is my president. That should be the spirit. And that spirit is absent in this council. And respect of the honorable mayor, respect of honorable councilmen and women, and respect of all of them has to be properly preserved. And that has to be the spirit in the council, which if it is not there, the leaders of this council, it is their responsibility to see that it happens. Just not because everybody is free to speak anything. Is it the level of this particular council? I have very...
Mr. Desai, your time is up.
I think that's enough for me to say. And I have irrespective, I agree with you or you. I'm not agree. That
Mr. Desai,
for all of you.
Mr. Desai.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, in response to him, people can have signs. First Amendment right, they have the right to address their grievances to their government. They can have signs as long as they are, they can have signs as long as they are not disruptive. And it's a public building. If they want to, I don't know what they're doing out there, but as long as they're not disruptive, they can do that. And just as you can hold up a sign in support of Mr. Prasad or whatever you want, that's their right. Thank you, Mr. Desai. Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Jim Zeitler. I live at 286 Maple Avenue. I've been a resident in Somerset for over 20 years. And the reason I've had a lot of other people go before me is because I really don't want to do this. But I feel that we have a town divided, and I just think it's really a shame that that's the case. When a lot of the issues with Councilman Prasad first surfaced, kind of came to a head a number of months ago, and Mayor Kramer, you gave what I thought was a very touching and eloquent speech about the need to end divisiveness. And I believe then and I believe now that you're an honest broker. I think you're genuinely trying to balance out a lot of constituencies who there's no way that you can say yes to one and not offend the other. But with that said, I think the real question is, how come people aren't letting this go? I'm sure, Councilman Prasad, that's a question that you have on your mind. And I'm not here to browbeat anybody. I know everybody on this council, you're working hard, you're trying to do the best that you can. But Councilman Prasad, whether you see it this way or not, there's a number of people, myself included, who feel that your actions have abused the trust of the office. You can't work outside of the bounds of how we're supposed to govern this body or any other governing body. And when you do that, you lose the respect and the trust of the citizenry. For elected government, I don't think anybody asks that we get our way 100% of the time, but what we do ask is that our viewpoints are respected and acted upon in balance with other priorities. And I think it's clear that there's a fair number of people, myself included. I haven't gotten up here before, and so, you know, I'm one of those faces that you wouldn't really know otherwise. And, you know, we just feel that we have to take an action like this. We have to protect and preserve the integrity of how representative government is supposed to work. So when you have groups of people that feel disenfranchised, as we do in this situation, then it starts to manifest itself in a number of different ways. And I think really just now, what we've just seen is we're pitting citizen against citizen. I mean, is it really worth it? Is it worth it for you guys to have all of your reputations collectively tied in with the view that we have towards Councilman Prasad's action? And so yeah, I think this is going to continue. It's not going away. And in fact, with the recall, with that deadline coming and going, that's really where a lot of the focus was. So now that the focus isn't there, the focus invariably is going to end up on the entire council, because it's the entire council that continues to enable this to continue in this way. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Seeing no one come forward, Mayor, motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
First and a second. Being no discussion, all in favor of closing the public portion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. The public discussion is closed. We're now on to council comments. Ms. Pruitt. What the heck?
I thought we were going to go in alphabetical order.
We're going in reverse alphabetical order of the third letter of your last name.
So I did want to obviously thank the council for allowing me to present the proclamation for Black History Month. As I kind of said before when reading the proclamation, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, you know, it is really meaningful that it's my first opportunity to have a proclamation, and it is something for Black History Month. I think, you know, what we kind of celebrate and what we focus on in Black History Month is always very timely, and it's always still very relevant, rightly or wrongly. You know, I think it's important that we're always striving forward, and what I really appreciate about this township is just our strength of diversity, and you know, I hope that we can move to a place where we can focus back on our unity, and you know, collectively appreciating the diversity and the strength that it gives us. As far as kind of committee reports, I'm making my rounds through all the committees that I was assigned to, so as of tomorrow, I would have attended all of mine. I know we have a lot of exciting things happening with the Hamilton Street Advisory Council. Our township manager will go into the details, but I hope that you will disseminate that information to your communities and have people come out so they can really be a part of the discussion. And I will cede my time to the next person, unless I think of something really witty to add later. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Galateri.
Almost there, Mr. Mayor. There.
Almost.
First and foremost, congratulations to our newly promoted sergeants. I know all of them are work hard and have served on the force for a long time, and it shows the diverse. It shows the diverse background that our officers come from, and as the manager did point out, that we do have 10% female officers, and I know our force comes from a very diverse background. Trying to represent more of what the town is. So congratulations to those 3 officers. Pothole reports. I'm starting to get pothole reports. Please send them in. It's the best way that we know where they are. Our units are out. Our DPW teams are out driving around, but they can't catch everything. So that's the easiest way, and it helps both you and it helps your fellow residents to repair it. So. I have remained quiet, and I've said this at council, or to my council members, and one of the reasons that I've chosen to remain quiet is, from this seat in particular, is because of, I look to a higher governing body of what the rules of the organization are, and one of the rules that stuck out to me was from Congress, as functional as they may be at times, and I will say that, is not to speak against another representative on the floor, from the microphone or from the floor of the House. That does not mean that silence from this seat does not, at this particular moment, does not mean that other things are being done and being discussed. So I will say that the reason that I've remained quiet from this is because I've attempted to follow the same rules as put in place. That is my personal opinion. Other council members may feel differently, and I encourage them to feel differently because that's what makes us diverse in our opinion. That is my reason. That being said, the actions of today, of the news report that we received, does continue to disturb me. You're right, nobody should be attacked for any reason. I would hope that nobody would be assaulted in general, but not because of a piece of clothing that you're wearing or something that you believe. And, being a Yankees fan going to Fenway Park, and this is no way a comparison, but again, just thinking of a hat that nobody should just walk up and assault for no reason. So it's, and comments along with it and that I've seen just disturb me as well. So your comments are right that I would hope that we're living above this, and unfortunately we're living in a time where it feels like we're going backwards and not forward. But again, I hope that we try to take steps to move forward, and it may seem like it's moving slow, but there's only so much that can do to follow the process correctly. So that's what I want to say at this point in time. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to share that. And I'm done.
Thank you. Councilwoman Francois.
I used to really love serving as a councilwoman here in Franklin Township. And it seems as if, because of all the distress that's going on here right now, it's very uncomfortable. And one of my personal mantras that my mother taught me when I was growing up is, if you don't have anything nice to say about a person, it's better not to say anything at all. And one of the things that distresses me is that we're all being attacked for other people's actions, which I don't think is totally appropriate. I know that we're the leaders of the town, but we should not be held accountable. I cannot be held accountable for other people's actions. And I find that very disturbing. I find that very distressful. It's no different than a mother or a father or a parent or grandparent raising a child, and a child goes out even though you taught them to do better, and they go out and do something that you never raised them to do. So that's the analogy I wanted to put out there. I do want to say congratulations to the new sergeants. One of the things that they have done that I personally know about, they've done a lot of work with the youth here in Franklin Township, and they've done a lot of community service here in Franklin Township. So I think it's great that not only for the service that they provide as police officers, the fact that we looked at the diversity that they've been able to contribute to the community, and that's a wonderful thing. So I think that I would like to say congratulations to our police department, and I really think they do a great job. And then I also would be remiss if I did not. I know Bob said, the manager said he was going to give a report, but if I can, okay. So our youth center, because I'm really, really excited about the youth center. I spent a lot of time with the planning and design and the architect to come up with the project and the deliverables on the project. So our youth center website has been fully updated. The project schedule is posted with links with all the relevant documents embedded in it, including all of our site plans, the pictures, the community events that we had last year. We have a brochure that you can download if you'd like to. And you can find all that information on www.franklintwpnj.org/youth center. And also, we have started a campaign to share progress on the center. We will be taking pictures of meetings and happenings and surrounding progress and posting them on social media outlets to make the progress on the center more visible to the public. Once construction starts, we will document that with photos, as well as share as needed. So you'll be, even if you don't go over to the site, you'll get to see the progress of the construction as it goes on. So some of the first posts you can see at www.facebook.com/township.po.franklin and www.twitter.com/TWPPOF.Franklin. Photos were also taken at all our pre-construction meetings with our code officials. So notices went out on March 20th for the planning board presentation for the youth center, and they were mailed out to all the property owners in that area. At that meeting, we will present the introduction of the project, the architecture, the design, the floor plans, the operational background, and our engineers will detail a lot of the site plans for the youth center and the parking lot. So if you're as excited as I am, come on out and be a part of our March 20th Planning Board presentation for the youth center. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Only Jaka. Mike.
I've received a call from most of my residents that wild turkey is a very big issue right now in Franklin, and most especially in my ward. And it's becoming a problem. So I want to bring this issue to the council and to find a way we can take care of this problem. Mayor, this is what I have now, for now.
I'll let the manager answer that. And
Well, as far as the wild turkeys, there was a complaint from a resident of Masada Street about the wild turkeys in the neighborhood, and wild turkeys have populated the state of New Jersey since they were reintroduced back in the early 1970s, and are rather prolific now in their population, and the township has a pretty significant population. It's actually been met with a lot of mixed emotions from residents in the area, some very much pro-turkey and some very much anti-turkey. It seems like the turkeys are following our society today. I'll try not to impart too much on that. There's a great division, apparently, on whether or not we should relocate the turkeys. The Animal Control Office is working with Fish and Wildlife to try to control the situation. I have some pictures, if anyone would like to see, of our Animal Control Officer, Katie Nordhaus, petting them. So they weren't necessarily violent. They were behaving themselves as best they could, given that they're turkeys and they're wild.
They're just misunderstood.
So we are paying some attention. On the website, there are a number of things posted that are suggestions on how to deal with turkeys that can become aggressive and chase after you, with the things that you can do to kind of deter that the behavior from the turkeys. But we are working with Fish and Wildlife to see if we can address it in that particular neighborhood. And if you have issues, you should know this. Our Animal Control Office is by state statute limited to dealing with domesticated animals. Wild animals are the purview of Fish and Wildlife at the state. We do not take action as it relates to wild animals. Certainly, Katie, our Animal Control Officer, Katie Nordhaus, is very well trained in dealing with injured animals and things like that are wild. But generally speaking, controlling wildlife is the responsibility of the state of New Jersey, not local animal control. But we will assist where we can, and that's what we're doing right now.
Thank you.
And of course, when we speak of wild turkeys, we talk about the animal, not the drink.
Sometimes I want to talk about the drink, but we're talking about the animal right now. Yes.
And what do I? Councilwoman asked me what I know about the drink. Actually, I don't think I've ever had one. I am known to get drunk from reading the label of a beer bottle. So, and because we don't do things in an order here, Councilwoman Prue would like to speak again.
So thank you, Mayor. You actually put me on the spot, and what I wanted to actually say fell out of my head. I did want to also congratulate the officers that were officially or ceremonially sworn in. I am on the Public Safety Committee, so it is really close to my heart, even though we haven't actually met yet. And I'm really excited to do work with them, so I can kind of ask some of the questions that that I think you're still here because your sign is in front of your face, but kind of brought up in terms of some of the questions in terms of our force. But they're doing a great job, and the conversations that I had have been stellar. And I do want to make it clear that one of the things I said when I was actually sworn in is it's really important for me to make sure that individuals feel listened and that they feel heard. I know that there are folks that are disenfranchised, and that does upset me as a newly appointed councilwoman. And you aren't going unheard. I do want to make that clear, even though it may feel like you aren't, but we are listening, and I think we are taking it to account, and we are here to serve you, and that's our responsibility, and we are held to a higher standard, and there is a level of integrity and accountability to that. But there is a level of civility when we are at this dais. So we're listening, right? We hear you. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Wright. Councilman Wright is sitting in the back of the room and waves us on. Councilman Chase.
Oh, I don't have any committee reports because I made them all our last meeting. I realized that I omitted something in my rush to give committee reports, and that is to express my sorrow at the passing of former Mayor John Clyde, whom I've known since he first appeared as a candidate for council in 1979. He wasn't elected then, but he was elected in 1981. And he was just a wonderful, positive person. Above all, I think he was always looking for the best in everyone and trying to assign the best motives to even people who were disagreeing with him about something. It's only once I ever heard him express real anger at anyone, and that was somebody who was trying to get him fired from his job. I think he had a right to have some anger about that. But now, of course, John, after he was on the council, he continued on the Environmental Commission for a number of years, and as council liaison to the Environmental Commission, I saw a lot of him then, although he missed a fair number of meetings due to his health issues. But still, we lost him much too early, and it's really sad that we have lost such a fine person. On the subject of wild turkeys, actually, in my end of the township, I see a lot fewer than I did perhaps 10 years ago. I think this may be due to the increase in coyotes, and perhaps if there were more coyotes in the north end of the town, there'd be fewer turkeys. But on the whole, I'd rather have turkeys than coyotes. Our big wildlife problem in this town are the deer, for two main reasons. One, I think everybody is aware of, is that they are a hazard on the roads, and people who run into them, although it's generally fatal to the deer, it generally causes severe damage to automobiles, and in one case it has been fatal to a person driving South Middlebush Road. We, the township, do what we can by encouraging hunting on our township open space. Unfortunately, there's a much larger open space with very limited hunting, the 6 Mile Run State Reserve. And there are private properties where there is not hunting. And one of the things we've been told is that one of the barriers to control is that it's hard to persuade private property owners to allow hunting on their property. And in cases where there's concern about hazards to the neighbors, you can at least allow bow and arrow hunting, where you have to be a lot closer to the deer to get it, to really be lethal to the deer, and therefore you can be quite sure that it's a deer you're shooting, and your arrows don't carry as far as bullets. I would, particularly in the north end of the township, where a map that Councilman Vasanella has shows the incidence of deer and automobile accidents, most of them are in the north end of the township. So we really need to have better deer control through more hunting, and we're looking into other possible ways of controlling the deer population. One thing that people who are friendly to deer often say, well, can't you arrange for essentially contraception for deer? That has been investigated, and it's really not workable. Not at all workable, and extremely expensive. But the main point is you're never going to get very many of the deer that way. So I've just expanded on this in relation to the concern about the turkeys. You probably won't damage your car if you run into a turkey, and in any case, they'll fly. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Councilman Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, congratulations to the sergeants. We thank them for keeping us safe, and also want to thank their families that sacrifice greatly. My father was a police officer, and it runs in my family. So I know the sacrifice and the fear that they live with. Congratulations on the Black History Month and for us taking the time to reflect on the contributions to the building of the United States. Now, the admin committee will be meeting on the 7th. Land use was supposed to meet tomorrow, but in lieu of it, we've got a report, and that's the only item, so it's being postponed till next time, or the next council meeting, so. Community Foundation has not met. Now, Human Relations met yesterday, and some of the changes that were made was, firstly, the chairman read a statement that said the commission is not responsible for any individual or their opinions, but they did take the vice chair of the Human Relations Commission and appointed her as the parliamentarian, and she is actually interrupting people when they make a statement that may be derogatory or offensive, and asking them to stop right then and there. And that is the only thing the commission can do to make sure there is no derogatory comments being made. And so that was one of the things. Beyond that, at the last council meeting, I had suggested that we consider having a town hall meeting where we do discuss our diverse town. We bring in an arbitrator, mediator, whatever you want to call them, but a professional who's used to handling conflict and bringing in the various points of view that people hold, and being able to ask them, okay, why do you have this opinion? And getting a dialogue going between the various diverse communities so that we can live in harmony, or at least with greater understanding of each other. If racism exists, you cannot solve it by sweeping it under the rug. You have to face it and address your issues, your differences, and you may agree to disagree, but at least you understand each other. And we can promote tolerance that way, and we can have conflict resolution with a dialogue rather than, just constant non-communication. And so that's really where we are, and it's been put on the agenda for the next meeting, and it will be discussed at that time. So that's where we are with this whole thing. Now, you come here and you ask for me to resign. Let me put it in perspective. The last time that we had an election was in 2015. All these issues that are being brought up, they were controversial then when we were approving 2 cricket fields at Catalpa Park, and there were 2 temples that came up. And there was opposition to them. And things got charged again. And emotions were high. We've gone through this. And now in the atmosphere that exists in Washington and nationally, we are divided as a nation. And we have to do something about it. And in this town, at least, let's take the first step to trying to have a dialogue and at least establish some mutual respect amongst the various communities. So that is what we're working on. And I was elected in spite of all the controversy. I was elected for a 4-year term. And there are people who still insist that I continue to serve them, and some of them are here. And I can tell you the Asian community is a little different in that they have 2 newspapers, the Gujarat Darpan and the Gujarat Samachar. They have 2 radio stations that they listen to. It's the Radio Mirchi and the Radio Chai. Okay, there is a TV station that they have, which is called TV Asia, which is broadcast to most Asian households throughout the United States and across the world. Now, people communicate. They have their own internet networks of communicating. So they're not dependent on one online paper for their news and information. And they are well aware of what's going on, and they have told me that we don't want you to resign, that we want you to serve out your term like we voted you in for. Now, you can disagree with them, but at least you can understand where they're coming from. And that is where it stands. So, this is still a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. And the will of the voters has to be honored. You can have whatever placards you want, but it's not going to change the fact that America is still a democracy. Now, you may approve of whatever is going on in Washington. I don't. America was one, the system was set up where people had a dialogue and came to a compromise. Today, we don't have a compromise. We have a stalemate, and we're not moving forward. Other nations are moving forward, and we are seeing that globally, that America is falling behind because of that. And we've got to find a solution. I chose to come to this country. I wasn't here by an accident of birth. This is the finest country to live in. This is a democracy, and is the cradle of democracy in the world, and everybody in the world looks to America. That is why people come here, because of the promise of America. And now, to say that, democracy doesn't mean anything, the will of the voters doesn't mean anything, we don't need to respect that because we disagree with this one individual. We disagree with Donald Trump, but we do not say he can resign. There's a rule of law, and whatever happens, happens. But we have to respect that elections have consequences. And our people have said that, they will speak at the ballot box. And if you should go and do so at the ballot box, the will of the people will be honored. But until then, this is a democracy. Honor the will of the people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Vassanello.
Thank you, Mayor. So a handful of things to cover, but Councilman Chase, it wasn't my intention to hold up the map, but I just brought it because I've been following, I'm doing a lot of research on our deer situation, and not to dismiss the other subjects at hand here, but for what it's worth, here is a map. I don't know if it will be seen on TV. This is the 2016 map of the concentration of deer-related vehicle collisions in 2016. 124. This is a little less colorful. It's a black and white version. Deer accidents, animal-related car crashes. I'm going to say animal-related because not necessarily every single one are deer, but probably most, if not all. 2017, 160. That's just not a couple extra. That's noticeably extra. And I'm not saying statistics alone tell the whole story, but I think it's pretty obvious that this isn't something we can blame on anybody because it's nobody in particular's fault. You know, there's varying opinions of how it got to the point it is, but the fact is, it's hard to find a solution. So I'm just bringing it up tonight. I know last year I wanted to put on a discussion item around budget time and was asked to let us do a little bit more research. We had a wildlife management committee that's in-house in town here, well, an offshoot of our civilian committees. We have had some assistance with Rutgers University program. They were here a few months ago. Bottom line is we need to make a decision if we're going to do anything substantial beyond what we're doing, and we are doing a lot, and we have been doing a lot. And we've been taking up the hunting situation, although that is not necessarily going to be the answer or the full answer going forward. Bottom line is I'm asking my council colleagues to please review the report that we got recently, 2017-2018, recommendations for 2018-2019, the report that they brought forward here from the university program, and anything else you can get your hands on. There's a lot of stuff out there. Again, there's not a lot of easy solutions, but I'm going to ask that via council discussion coming up, perhaps not the next meeting, but within a few, that we have a serious discussion to see if we're going to take any measures beyond what we're doing. And of course, any input from the Management Wildlife Committee or anybody else involved in the civilian committees that deals with this is welcome. Not suggesting we make a final decision, but I think we have to have an open, thorough, honest discussion and see if we're content with where it is and what we're doing, or if we're going to really take strong action. And probably over half of the crashes probably are, I don't know, within a 10% part of the geographic aspects of the town, and it's just because of the density of them and the amount of vehicles and other variables. But the whole town has them, but there are areas that are noticeably more dangerous than most of the rest of the town as far as the deer. Okay, sorry to spend so much time, but I think it's time we have to make a decision, even if the decision is not to do anything. So going forward, there was comments made by Councilwoman Pruitt, Councilwoman Francois, and Will, and I think you hit it home on a lot of the feelings that we all share in one respect or another. We do hear, listen, everything that's said here. And there's been a lot of conversations, a lot of private conversations amongst ourselves, perhaps with Mr. Prasad, with other people within the party structure. We don't take things lightly, but, you know, I know people are eager to see how things are moving in that regard, but I think there'll be more clarity very soon. The youth center is not formally part of Rutgers. Rutgers not formally part of Hamilton Street project, but it is so closely related. And Councilwoman, thank you for taking that up a notch as far as the communication, keeping the public in the queue, or in the in the know with what's going on, and what you're explaining will be posted. Maybe we could do the same with some of our Hamilton endeavors and other aspects of town. Maybe it can kind of start a template for how we can keep the public informed of the projects that we have fought to get here, although that's probably the one we fought the hardest over the last decade. Moving right along, the officers here tonight, congratulations. I wasn't on the council, but I remember when Ken Daly was sworn in, because he has the same name as our township manager. I used to come to a lot of the meetings, and 15 years goes by really fast. But I don't mean to single him out, Ariel, Kevin, the other officers, and any of them that will have been promoted ever. It's a great accomplishment, and we thank them. And it does say something the longer officers are here. There's a consistency, a dedication, etc. So, you know, of course, not all of them stay their whole career here, but I think it says volumes about our town that so many of them do. As far as I know, we don't ever set a salary based on anything but the position. I'm sure everyone would agree here, it has nothing to do with gender, it's about position. So please just, I understand people's concern, but our manager, I'm sure, would gladly respond to anybody that has any inquiry as far as pay, the pay in town or the basis for salaries. Ted, I'm not going to repeat it, but they were very beautiful words you said about John. I know you go way back with him, and they do speak volumes about who John was. I think that is it. Thank you, Mayor. Oh, well, I didn't want to rain on the mayor's parade, but I will mention support the bowl project, the Hungry Bowls projects. That's coming up. I'm sure I see he has a bowl there. I think the concept is fantastic, and I applaud I believe it's a man and a woman locally who put together this event and the nonprofit that will help feed a lot of hungry people. So I'll let the mayor fill you in on the rest of that, but please try to support it, if not this event, at any time you can going forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
I'm actually taller than this, but the seat sort of went down on me. My only comment, Hamilton Street Advisory Board, open meeting, March the 11th, 2019 at 7 p.m., Franklin Township Municipal Building, Council Chambers. And curious as to know how the new Hamilton Street student housing will affect you. Fourth Ward Planning, in collaboration with the nationally known parking consultant, will present a report examining the parking needs and the economic benefits related to the new student housing being developed in the Hamilton Street area. The presentation is open to the public, and the public will have an opportunity to comment and ask questions. My comment is, if you don't come, don't cry, because you'll have to live with it forever. Once again, if you don't come, don't cry, because you'll live with it forever. Can't change it. Every time you walk down the street, you'll see it. You might cry about, oh my, the traffic, oh my, I don't like the building, oh my, it blocks out the sun. If you don't come, don't cry. Even if you live in the 1st Ward, 2nd Ward, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, where Councilman Vasanel is the deputy mayor, if you don't come. And again, the meeting is March the 11th, 2019 at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers. I expect to see everyone at that meeting. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, it's been a pleasure. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Just to be clear, if I don't come, can I cry?
Well, be like, I mean, you can telephone in and video in, but I want big tears.
I'm a crier.
Okay, I want big tears, baby, big ones.
All right. So let's start with the bowl. This is, let me show my age and put my glasses. This is empty bowls. It's basically, it's a hunger issue, and money will go to the food bank. But empty bowls will be Sunday, March 10th at the, I'm sorry, I know where it is, the Doubletree Hotel Conference Center at 200 Atrium Drive. So March 10th from 1 to 5, and there's going to be restaurants there and providing food. It's $35 in advance and $40 at the door. I presume there must be something on the food bank website in order to register for it, or at least they'll redirect you, and you get a bowl. And they've made 800 bowls, and I have to return this one. They told me I have to return it, because I guess maybe I'll just bring it there. I will be going. I think it's a wonderful project. So March 10th at the Doubletree, from 1 to 5. They say come at any time between 1 and 4, and proceeds to go to the food bank. They're hoping for 400 guests, so be one of 400. $35 in advance or $40 at the door. Never do anything in advance, I'll be at the door, and here's. Okay. I was fortunate enough to be invited to a Habitat for Humanity house dedication this weekend. There's two groups you don't say no to: Habitat for Humanity and the food bank. It was wonderful to dedicate a house to a family who spent hundreds of hours themselves working on the house. As they said there, it's not a handout, it's a hand up. They struggled to get that house built with others, and they will be good citizens. They will add to our affordable housing allotment, and Franklin practically leads the state, or is at least a model city for the state in our affordable housing accomplishments. Congratulations to the sergeants. I already said what a wonderful police force we have. HM, I don't know what that. So there was an incident that people probably saw in the paper today about a man being attacked because he was wearing, he was wearing a MAGA hat and he was attacked. I do not know what is in people's minds, but certainly we need to be able to have political discourse in this country without fear of reprisal. I think that is what our country stands for, is the ability to debate politics or political issues without fear of reprisal. I don't think the issues that have been brought here to council today are related to that particular assault. We live in a bubble here, and I doubt the people involved there have heard about what's going on here. So I do not mean to relate the two by causality. But Mr. Desai came up to speak. He's left. Mr. Desai is righteous in coming up to speak his feelings. The people coming to protest Mr. Prasad are righteous in coming up and presenting their feelings. And I respect both parties for doing it. And I respect the concerns of the people who are coming up and speaking about Mr. Prasad. There's reason to have concerns. It is their First Amendment right to do it. It is their First Amendment right to have signs as long as they are not disruptive. And I'm glad we live in a town, hopefully, where one can do that. But linking them to what Mr. Trump is doing in Washington just significantly bothers me. And to suggest that they are not patriotic by coming here significantly bothers me. We are a country where protest is patriotic. Back in Vietnam days, the people who protested the war were considered traitors. They are now considered heroes, and they stood beside us and guided us in the right direction. So history will tell who is right and who is wrong, but to say someone is not patriotic or to infer that someone is not patriotic is absolutely wrong. I think the concern here in town is not over problems between our diverse populations. I think the problem here in town is that people from government, people appointed by government or elected to government from the top down, have made divisive statements. And I think that is the issue that many people are concerned about. I am certainly concerned about it. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to quickly repeat on some dates of some upcoming events. The Hamilton Street Advisory Board, again, is March 11th at 7 p.m. This will be an opportunity for those people interested in the economic development initiatives and the construction along Hamilton Street and the plans for Hamilton Street to come and hear from our economic development consultant, as well as the person who shares the hat of both Economic Development Director and Executive Director of the Hamilton Street Advisory Board, Mr. Dominack, who's in the audience here today, patiently waiting to present the Hamilton Street budget. But I think I would strongly encourage anyone who has an interest in what we're doing on Hamilton Street to come and hear. And also the Youth Center meeting that Councilwoman Francois spoke about on March 20th in front of the Planning Board. This is a presentation to the Planning Board, not an application to the Planning Board. Municipalities don't make applications to their own Planning Board. This is simply an opportunity for those people who are appointed to the Planning Board, who we consider experts in the development of properties here in Franklin, to hear what our plans are for the Youth Center from the architects and engineers. And so a good opportunity for anyone who's interested in the actual construction phase of the Youth Center to come and hear it at the Planning Board meeting on March 20th here in this room right here at 7:30 p.m. On to normal business. For those teenagers entering 9th or 10th grade who are interested in volunteering over the summer, the Franklin Township Recreation Department is currently recruiting counselor in training for our recreational programs this summer. If you have an interest in that type of volunteerism and that might lead to a paid position as you get older and you're entering 9th or 10th grade, I would strongly recommend that you go to our website. Applications are due by April 26th. Get your application in and learn something and help your fellow man at the same time, right? That's the whole goal there. It's a very good program, absolutely. So it's something that I would like to see many kids get involved with. And Mr. Mayor, one other thing, there has been some discussion today about the deer population and deer control. Just as a note to council and to anyone interested, I will be attending a meeting in Trenton on Thursday with representatives of the Department of Environmental Protection and Fish and Wildlife regarding the hunting on the 6 Mile Run property. I'll be in attendance with our open space consultant, Tara Kenyon, and our wildlife management subcommittee chair, Bob Puskis, to discuss with representatives of Fish and Wildlife and the DEP taking a look at the restrictions that are in place currently on hunters on that 2,600 or so acres of 6 Mile Run, and hopefully be able to broaden that and have a bigger impact on the deer population in the central part of the town, which, while I recognize and I agree with council, with Deputy Mayor Vasanella, that the deer car crash is primarily the concentration in the north end of town due primarily to much heavier vehicular traffic and not necessarily a bigger herd, but many more cars, which then just by odds, you can't help it, more cars, more traveling down the road, the more opportunity to strike the deer. But certainly the population in the 6 Mile Run area of the town does influence the deer population in the northern part of town as well. So hopefully we'll have some progress on that, and we'll continue to talk about this. And I am I'm heartened by the deputy mayor's plea that we begin to move on this, because I wholeheartedly agree with him that we need to begin to take further action as it relates to this deer herd, and we need to consider it sooner rather than later. And that's all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council discussion items, we have none. On to approval of the minutes. I present the following minutes for approval by the Township Council. Township Council Budget Meeting, February 11th, 2019 at 7 p.m. and February 19th at 7 p.m. And Township Council Work Session, regular meeting, February 12th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any corrections? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase. Councilwoman Francois.
I have to abstain on the February 11th and 12th since I was out of town on business, but yes for February 19th.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Approval of the warrants. Warrants in the amount of $9,721,422.54 on February 26, 2019 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, any item wish to be pulled? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase. Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
We are now on to item number 12, 2019 Hamilton Street Special Improvement District Budget. We have a resolution 19-91. Read 2019 Hamilton Street Special Improvement Budget, District Budget by title. Is hereby presented to the Township Council for consideration. Do we have a motion on
Motion
that?
for the resolution.
Second?
Second.
Thank God. So the purpose of this is so that I do not have to read out the entire.
Can I take that second back?
Of course, I might leave the room and make you read it.
Oh, that's right. Second.
So that I don't have to read the entire budget, we can read the title. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion, Madam Master Clerk.
Councilman Chase. Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Thank you, everyone. Public hearing on 2019 Hamilton Street SID budget. We have a motion to open for public hearing.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded, seeing no discussion. All in favor of opening the meeting for public discussion on this item only, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. The meeting is open for public discussion strictly on the calendar year 2019 Hamilton Street SID.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward from the public, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing. Public hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. Resolution 19-92, adopt a 2019 calendar year Hamilton Street Special Improvement District budget is introduced, is hereby presented to the Township Council for consideration. Do I have a motion on the budget?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the budget? So I think one important thing is that there's no SID tax this year.
Assessment, you mean?
Assessment, yeah, that. No assessment, no tax. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Mr. Manager?
No, I think that this is probably the last year that we'll go without an assessment, given the fact that we will now reach a point where we've spent down that surplus in the reserve for the from the Hamilton Street SID to the point where we'll need to have an assessment in 2020. But I think that with all of the progress on Hamilton Street, that we we've now proven, I think, that we took this in the right direction several years ago when council made the decision that they did to move away from a district management corporation and be the district management corporation. There's been a great deal of progress, and I think that a trip down Hamilton Street speaks for itself.
Okay. Mr. Dominic, do you have anything here in case there was a question? Guess we haven't voted yet. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
There are four ordinances for second reading. Each one of these will have its own public discussion, again, devoted to that particular ordinance. We are on to ordinance 4261-19, an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly, Chapter 112, Development, to update and simplify application checklist for applications before the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment and contents related and contains related ordinance amendments. Is presented for the public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed, is required to have a motion to open for public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on public hearing? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open for public hearing on this item only. This is to simplify the application process, Planning and Zoning Board.
Mayor, seeing no one come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this ordinance.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. Do I have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the item? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Ordinance 4268-19, Councilman Galtieri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance establishing the Stronger Together program in the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey.
Is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed. Do we have a motion to open to public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open for public hearing on this item only. I'm waiting.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward for public, motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public portion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Mr. Councilman Galtieri, would you like to move this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move this item.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is, well, why don't you explain it?
Okay, so as I briefly mentioned at the last meeting, this is essentially a voluntary registry for residents and business owners, that if they have a video surveillance system or a Ring or Nest doorbell or any of the likes, that they can register it with the police department, so that in the event that an incident happens in their neighborhood, the police are familiar and can come out a little bit easier. This, I want to be clear, this does not give the police free access to the system. It's voluntary to hand over the footage, but it makes it a little easier that that they know where to start to look for the incident. They identify. Yes, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is appropriate time right this moment, but since it has to do with this ordinance, I'm just going to ask if it already isn't in the queue, that for the next edition of the Franklin paper, perhaps we can put a blurb not only about this, but about the do not knock ordinance, I'm going to say the little quality of life laws that we're trying to encourage the public to consider if they want to get involved with like this. So in our next newspaper upon the
So
passage.
as long as you approve the consent agenda that has the contract for the printing of the newsletter, I'll be more than happy to make sure it's in there, Deputy
Okay.
Mayor. Absolutely a good idea.
All right. So that's all I had to
Is
say.
there any other discussion?
Mayor. And well, maybe I wouldn't pass it if the manager wouldn't agree to do it.
Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
We are now on to ordinance 4269-19, an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Code 384, Water, more particularly Section 384-9, Curb Connection Capital Fees. Is presented for the public hearing and final adoption, and public hearing has been noticed as required. Do we have a motion to go to public?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for the public?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open to public discussion on this item, which changes the capital connection fees, water connection.
Mayor, seeing no one from the public come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this
Seconded.
ordinance.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public portion, say aye, aye, aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. We have a motion on the item.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. So this is a motion, or an ordinance to create is it yearly?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, annual.
Annual inspection of water meters for, well, it turns out to be commercial because it's on anything with a 2-inch pipe, and no residentials have 2-inch pipes. They use a lot of water, and as the meters age, they become inaccurate, letting more water through than people are charged for, and we want an accurate reading. So this helps alleviate that. Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Capital ordinance, 4270-19, a capital ordinance appropriating $110,000 for the Open Space Trust Fund, from the Open Space Trust Fund, to pay for critical repairs to the pool at Williams Park for the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, is presented for public hearing and final adoption. The public hearing has been noticed as required. To have a motion to open to the public.
Motion, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor to open to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open to the public.
Mayor, seeing no one coming forward from the public, a motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this ordinance.
Seconded.
All in favor to close, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now closed to the public. Do we have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. So it's $110,000 to repair a pool. It says from the Open Space Trust Fund. That's an abbreviation. It's Open Space Recreation, Agricultural, and Historic. So it is appropriate to use the money for this. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank our ever-quick township manager for helping out with this particular issue. I am more than sure come summer, the kids will sing high praise for the township manager for taking care of business out of the Open Space Trust Fund. So thank you very much, Mr. Township
You're
Manager.
very welcome, Councilman. I think that it's desperately needed, and we not beat what we went through last year.
Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella.
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Absolutely.
Yes, I made a boo-boo and
Yeah.
no one caught it until
Well,
the attorney, I had already realized my boo-boo. So the water ordinance that we read on second reading, that was not about checking meters, that was changing the curb connection capital
capital
fees.
connection fee.
Technically, my discussion being inaccurate shouldn't change anything, but does anyone want to change that vote? That was changing increasing the curb connection fee by a couple $100 to be fair, and it's all according to the state formula on how to do it. Does anyone want to revisit, since we all voted yes, anyone could bring up that item again? Does anyone want to bring that up again?
No, it is still 2-inch pipes, right?
No, this is the capital,
Separate
this
one.
is the new capital connection fee that's set by state formula.
It has
And it's,
nothing to
the
do with-
equivalent unit went up a couple $100. It was last adjusted in 2013, and it brings it up to the current equivalent unit rate, which is set by, the formula is set by the
Right.
state.
It's for anyone new who is
New.
connecting into the system. The meter check thing is coming up on first reading. And this was something we'd already discussed on first reading. But that capital connect fee was increasing the fee for any new person connecting to the system, because the system is more valuable now than it was before. So anyone connecting now should pay more to become a quote-unquote shareholder in the system. Again, does anyone want to recall that vote?
I think since we introduced it before we knew what we were voting on, we might not have been paying attention
I
to
may
what
not
you
have-
said.
Right, which is the appropriate thing. And we now know that's the right thing to do. All right, so we are now moving on to ordinance on introduction and first reading, and this is the meter testing for 2-inch pipe ones.
Tell us all
2-inch
about it.
pipes.
No, not just two,
It is for 2-inch or
Two
larger.
more.
or larger.
2 or more, yes. And okay. Ordinance 4272-19, an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Code Chapter 384, Water, more particularly Section 384-44, Meter Testing. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with the law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, March 12, 2019, at 7 p.m. at the municipal complex. Do we have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Again, this requires annual testing of meters 2 inches for pipes 2 inches or greater. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Very good, thank you. We are now on to an ordinance that I'll finish reading in about 20 minutes. Ordinance 4273-19, bond ordinance amending and supplementing bond ordinance number 3155, heretofore finally adopted on September 26, 2000, entitled Barn Ordinance Providing for the Acquisition of Various Parcels of Land for Open Space Purposes, a lawful public purpose in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, the Township, appropriating $8 million for the payment of the purchase price therefor, and authorizing the issue of $7,600,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof, as amended by Bond Ordinance Number 3183, finally adopted December 12, 2000, as amended by Bond Ordinance Number 3228, finally adopted June 28, 2001, as amended by Bond Ordinance Number 3363, finally adopted February 11, 2003, to amend the description thereof. The foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council exhaustingly for adoption on first reading, posting, publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption on Tuesday, March 12th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Complex, where you can hear me read that all again. Do we have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
So we're buying some land on 518, and we're going to pay for it by bond. There was a bond taken out, as you heard, a decade, 2 decades ago practically, and there's still money left in that bond, $2 million left in that bond. So we are still using that bond, and the $1.5 million purchase that we are doing, or the money that we are putting in, is going into that bond, and the state of New Jersey makes me read all that. Any other discussion?
Yes.
You want me to read it again?
No. As amended by bond ordinance number 3183, finally adopted, I'm going to ask the township manager, just real brief, I mean real brief. Explain that to me right quick.
So what the mayor just said is about as accurate as I could get. Is this bond ordinance, and whenever you have a bond ordinance that you appropriate a certain amount of money to make future purchases, every time you make a purchase that's against that bond ordinance, it has to be amended and supplemented with the new information for the new purchase. There's actually quite a bit more to this description than is listed in your agenda, because the further description lists all of the properties that have been purchased against this initial $7.6 million in funding back in 2000. And the mayor would have been here a lot longer had he read that entire description. This particular amendment is to amend it to purchase several parcels of land on 518 and Route 27 that are being purchased for $1.5 million, and the township is currently in due diligence as we move forward. And you'll get another ordinance in the very near future that will be the acquisition ordinance, and that's, that's kind of the best I can do to explain it. We have some of these long-running ordinances when funding was initially taken way back when.
So I can get the mayor to actually run this down, huh?
No.
Okay.
Not happening. We've moved, we've seconded, we have discussed, and Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
We are on to the consent agenda. Resolutions A through N, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone want to pull an item to be discussed separately or voted on separately?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Chase.
I just want to mention
Green team.
item L, continue support of the Franklin Township Green Team. We're going for recertification by Sustainable Jersey this year, and they require us to re-express our support of a whole lot of things. There will probably be a number of past resolutions that we will pass again, because somehow they think if we don't pass them again, they don't believe we're supporting them. And the first of this has to be the support of the Green Team, which has been a continuing body since 2010.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to highlight item K. Ordinance 19-103 in support of the New Jersey Department of Transportation I-287 River Road and Easton Ave interchanges project. This is something that I've been hoping for I've been able to drive, actually longer than that because of off to school every day. But this does not mean that, and Mr. Manager, please make sure I get this right. This project was designed, but still has not been not funded by New Jersey DOT. So this
No, it actually hasn't been designed. This resolution is to move it from concept to design.
Okay, so yes, so this is to encourage New Jersey Department of Transportation to actually take action on this. It certainly is a pinch point for both the town and for the interstate itself, and impacts a lot of residents. So this is just to try to get them to hopefully take this on and start moving forward with it.
These are actually offshoots of two studies that were done in 2000 and 2001. I was on both of the committees back then, and it takes about 19 years for us to get to concept, I guess, to design. So I wouldn't anticipate it being done in the next 6 months, but I would anticipate maybe it being included in the state's 5-year capital plan once engineering design is done.
Councilman, I'm glad you did one, because I was about to pull that for council for the township manager discussion. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella. Councilman Wright.
Item 16, resolutions to be voted on separately. Often items come up at the last moment, so they get put on separately, so they're not snuck by us unintentionally. The following resolution is presented to Township Council for adoption, 19-107. Authorize issuance of new plenary retail consumption license, Samudra, Mudra, 3391 Route 27, units 106 through 107, Franklin Park. Sounds like a new liquor license to me.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Seconded.
Seconded.
Discussion, what do we sell it for? 200 and what? $207,000. Very nice. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella. Councilman Wright.
The following resolution is presented to Township Council for adoption. Resolution 19-108, authorizing competitive contract, design and print Township newsletter, Hawk Graphics Incorporated. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella. Councilman Wright.
Old business 2019 boards, committees, commissions. Does anyone have a nomination?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have Jerry Primus. He's the president of Franklin Township Pop Warner Football. As you know, we try to include all presidents on the Recreation Advisory Committee, so I put his name forward for that particular purpose. Thank you.
Do we have advisory recreation, one regular member? Very good. Any other nominations for this position? Hearing none, we can do it by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we are on to executive session. Hooray. The following resolution is presented to Township Council for adoption. Resolution 19-109, authorize executive session, anticipated acquisition of property block 85, lots 62.03 and 62.01, and blocks 508.2, lot 52.01. I'm sorry, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vasanella? Councilman Wright?
So at this time, the Township Council is going to go into executive session. We're going to have a discussion, we're going to come out, but there's going to be no further action taken after that, so we're going to stop the taping at this time, and that adjourns the meeting, that adjourns at least the taping of the meeting. Be well, Franklin.